Hello and welcome to another episode of Sisters on the Weekend. She is Little Sis.
And she is Big Sis.
And we are back with another episode. Little Sis, can you take us away?
Yes, in today's episode, we will be talking about Black sisterhood. So we're just gonna look at some Black entertainment and the way sisterhood was reflected in entertainment, and just compare scenarios and just talk about our opinions on those topics. If you are enjoying this season, I know this episode is just starting, but please repost and review each episode. It definitely helps us out a lot. So, Big Sis, take it away.
Okay, so one of the shows that I kind of wanted to incorporate into this episode was Sisters on BET. And so
Tyler Perry film.
It's a Tyler Perry show. I think I was going to say that next, but maybe I wasn't. It's a Tyler Perry show, and it depicts a group of friends. So in our previous episodes, as you guys know, this whole season is dedicated to sisterhood, the intricacies of that relationship, what it means, boundaries, and so on and so forth. And so the show Sisters follows a group of friends, and it shows the dynamics amongst the friends. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 close friends, and then they incorporate another friend through one friend. So it's 5 women in total. Please, if I'm wrong, correct me. But I believe that's right. Just count off the top of my head. And so you get to see their different relationships as a group. You see their relationships individually, then you see it as a group. And so we kind of talked about this before, how once you get past 3 friends, sometimes it can get a little messy, or there's a little tension, and that was definitely reflected in this show. In particular, right now, I just want to highlight the relationship between the character Danny and Karen. And so from my view, they had a quote-unquote love-hate relationship where they would call each other, be around each other. They would attend events together. They would share personal information about themselves within the group. But whenever they would have one-on-one interactions or direct interactions with each other, there always seems to be some sort of contention. For me, it's difficult to constantly be around somebody where it's like, I like you through a friend. Like, you cool, but I wouldn't hang out with you one-on-one. And that was what I got from it. And so, in particular, it always seemed like Danny had, like, sly remarks for Karen. And Karen just was kind of smug towards her. And there was an episode I remember towards, I think, maybe the middle of the first season. I don't remember. I'm not up to date on it. But basically, Danny kind of mentioned, like, why are we never invited? Talking about her and another one of the friends. And she was like, why are we never invited? Like, we're always, like, on the outside. So it was Andy and Karen who were considered the best friends. And they were kind of like the center of the friendship group. And it seemed like the rest of the friends kind of came about around them. Mm-hmm. So my thought is, or I wanted to open it up for discussion. What is your thought of that love-hate relationship, or having friends, different levels of friendships within a friend group?
Ooh. I think that is very real. I haven't heard anybody describe it like that, because otherwise people usually describe it as someone just not liking you, or y'all not being as cool, or etc. But I never heard it described as different levels of friendship, which I think is more accurate to the situation, because that is a case. And in those instances, wait, what was the question again?
I just wanted to explore your thoughts on like love-hate relationships, and where like you have the friend where we're friends enough to hang out, but probably not alone. Like we can hang out in a group and we can talk in a group, but
I think those are interesting relationships because in those cases, I feel like you're technically an acquaintance.
I know. I feel like
Like
in
we're
those groups,
acquainted with each other, but we're just not friends.
this may be a bit far, like a broad statement, but I feel like in general, when I think about friend groups, I feel like it's usually one friend that benefits the most. Where like she's friends with everybody, and everybody's so drawn to that person that everybody's like, okay, well, being your friend mean I got to be friends with her. I'd be cool with her.
Cordial, right?
But okay, and I think in this episode or in this show, that would be Andy, who was the middle friend that was friends, had good relationships with pretty much everybody, and that everyone else kind of just fell in together.
But also, like, let's also explore that dynamic where it's like the cattiness amongst women.
That is so unhealthy.
Yeah,
if I be completely honest, the world is difficult enough. There are enough challenges and enough stressors, like to purposely continue to walk into a situation where somebody may say something out the way, or you may get a dirty look,
or you feel like you gotta read somebody, or
I don't want it.
Like,
I don't want it. I don't need it. I do want to also address another friend dynamic from that show. So Andy brought a friend in, Fatima, who Fatima was her assistant at work. And so interestingly enough, Fatima started to date Karen's ex. And so now you have a situation where two women are becoming friends, or they're in a friend circle and they dated the same guy. But it's not like a past tense for them both. It's like one person dated him and was with him for several years, and they went separate ways, and now this next woman is currently dating him, and they're so in love and having a beautiful relationship.
I think in those instances, the friend that introduced the new girlfriend in is very problematic.
I would agree, because even if she liked her, now I'll say this: the new friend that was introduced,
that was just
exactly. I'll say the new friend that was introduced, her character is very likable. She seems like a woman of high integrity, loyal, just a good friend. So I can see how the main character would have brought her in as a friend, but I don't think she should have been introduced to the group as like, oh, ladies, let's go hang out. I think that is toxic towards your friend. Honestly, there should be some loyalty there with regards to like, hey, this is a weird situation. I don't want to put you in the middle.
Right, for both sides, because now you're seeing the other woman. She's also probably was still texting the guy. It's just like...
It was. And so there was a lot of...
overlap.
There was overlap and messiness. But I'll conclude that by saying the show has a lot of different elements. But I did want to highlight, just the friendship part. I mean, the friendship / sisterhood parts that I saw that happen to be common themes throughout friend groups. Were there any shows that you wanted to highlight?
So I am little sis, so most of my stuff will probably be animated series. So like, for an example, The Proud Family, that friend dynamic was also interesting because Penny was close to Dejanay, but her relationship with La Cienega was very exchanged. And we talked about this in a previous episode when it's like you're friends through parents, because the parents were friends. The mother.
So you're saying that Penny, you talking about Penny's relationship with La Cienega?
Yes. Because it was very catty, but it from La Cienega's side more though. Penny
you're
seemed like
right.
she was more like calm, like,
It was a lot of
go with the flow.
competition.
Yeah.
And it was a very
Unwarranted.
much, you got to be in my space. So although I make you uncomfortable, and although I'm
Right.
constantly flexing on you, this is from La Cienaga's point of view, you have to sit in the front row and watch me make you feel uncomfortable.
Right. And it was like they were always hanging out, but it was just always a
So
slight.
forced.
So yeah, it was just like.
And it's so interesting because we have mentioned in past episodes like the relationships or the friendships that are fostered through the parents, but it's so interesting because think about it, the parents had that same competitive tension as well. So it was through the whole family.
Yeah. Yep. The mothers and the fathers. Yep. You are right. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize that.
So La Cienaga's family was the quote unquote
richer ones, but they lived right across the street. So it was just so like, y'all lived in the same neighborhood right across the street, but they're so much better, more pristine, they're richer, their careers were more, better. Society and society eyes. But also I want to look at the Proud Family dynamic as well with Penny versus her like siblings. Like there was an age difference there as well, and in some instances she seemed like a loving sister, but then some instances she seemed like kind of annoyed by having to babysit them, etc. And even in some cases, I felt like she kind of took on, I wouldn't necessarily say a motherly role, but almost, because it was in some instances where the mother was there, but she wasn't there. As far as like character development with her.
I think they did highlight that part of like being a big sister, because I'm just thinking in my mind, tell me if I'm right, but I remember seeing like the mom being like, oh, Penny, you gotta watch the twins, and she'd be like, oh, Mom, I was trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. So that also is a part of siblinghood.
It was a whole episode like where it's like the twins grew up or something because she didn't want to watch them. So then she was like, I wish you were, And then Al Roker came through the TV and like made them like older and stuff. And when they was older, they didn't want to hang out with her. Yeah,
I remember that.
So
I think it's something to be said about that too. Like you do want to cherish those moments, like. Because they go by so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, like, babies and this and that. Like, but I do understand you being a young, teenager or young adult, and you wanted to go with your friends and not wanting to watch your baby twin siblings. But, yeah.
But even in, like, some sisterhood dynamics, it's like their parents just put, what are your thoughts on that? When parents just put the siblings onto the siblings.
I think,
and then older siblings have to take on like a motherly or fatherly role in the siblings' lives. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it because in most situations, I think it's from a place of necessity and survival.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, but I don't think it's right. And I think that there has to be a balance there. And I think that parents should go out of their way to make sure that their older children don't feel locked in to that responsibility. Now, there are some older siblings who completely take it on, like, absolutely, like I did. It wasn't about, like, oh, you have to watch your sister. I was there, and I wanted to be, and it just worked that way. But I think saddling older children with too much responsibility is not a good thing, because they are still children. They have the right to be children. I think
it can bring about a strained relationship. Yeah, for the siblings as well. It's like, oh, I have to watch you, and it's
I
like
don't
I didn't
get
know
to just be.
But then they blame the younger sibling for that, though. In the end, they be like, "Well, I had to watch you," and it's like, how was that? I had nothing to do with you having to watch
situation. It's not a good situation.
I've seen where that has been thrown back into people's face, and they just be like stuck
because it's not fair, and somebody should be held accountable for it, but it's not the child. And so, just generally speaking, parents don't take accountability. I said it. Generally, it's like, it's every excuse, but I understand you were doing the best you could, or you work with what you had, but it doesn't make it right, and I think it should be some acknowledgement there. So no, it just shouldn't be the case. You was born first, so that means you got to take on more responsibility. That's really what it comes down to.
My heart just saddens for the people that legit take on the mother role, legit take on the father role, for whatever reasons, and it's just like,
yeah, that makes me cringe when I hear
they be like, oh, I had to go get a job, 13-year-old, I had to go get a job, I had to provide for my, I'm like,
or saying I was the man of the house, 15 years old,
I supported my family with this young. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what?
Yeah. When people saying they work and had to give. Look, I ain't trying to get too much into it, but
no, but I'm just saying we're talking about Black sisterhoods, and that was briefly touched on in the when she just described her saying that she didn't want to do it. And I'm just like, I felt like there were instances where she was. I think even in the intro, where she was changing their diapers or something, or. So
what? You about to make me go back and look at this show.
So it's just interesting. That's all. Okay, and then we can move on. Another example is Sista Sista. I like that dynamic of sisterhood. That one could technically be seen as forced because they were plopped into the same house. Even the parents, which was so odd, because it was apparent that they didn't. Well, the mother was open to
a relationship with,
but he.
Was she open to a relationship with him? Did she like him, or am I tripping?
I felt like she did, but that show has so many similarities to Parker with the Parkers that I
didn't even think about that.
It kind of blended so much. It was like she's there. The two women were chasing after the men, and the men was
wait, so she was. So the mother was
interested,
or am I tripping?
But she was flirting, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When the twins would be away, she'd be
his name was Ray, right?
Yeah, she'd be trying to talk to him and stuff, and then he'll just look not interested, but then she'd be all up in his face.
Oh,
so I think she was more open to something.
So give people the background of the Sista Sisters, because you said they were plopped together.
So Sista Sisters was a popular TV show where twin sisters, they lived in two different households, were raised by two different people. One was raised by a father figure, one was raised by a mother figure, and then I'm not sure how they met.
I think they met at the mall or something.
Yeah. They end up they met at the mall, and then each parent thought that one of the twins was the other, and then they realized that it's twins, they look alike, they act alike, and then I'm not really sure about the plot of how they end up living together, but they end up living together. The one that raised the mother moved into the household with the one that was raised by the father, so they lived in this big house, shared a room together, and the parents had to coexist in the house together as well. It was just so it was so odd. In what world would this actually happen? But okay,
hey,
TV show.
You never know. One thing I do want to say about Sista Sista that I really enjoyed. It was a beautiful show. It was age appropriate. It was wholesome, funny.
But also the idea of them bringing the sisters together,
right.
That was
and they
nice.
would dress alike, and they just always had a level of, they just always showed love and respect and honor to each other, even if they disagreed. I could be wrong, but I don't remember them ever having a scenario where it was some sort of betrayal or like
and if there was, it was always resolved by the end of the episode. Like it
right.
wasn't like the parents would intervene, like, and then they'll just like resolve it or whatever.
Yeah, it was always about like honesty and integrity and sisterly bond and love and togetherness and camaraderie and being on the same page and all of that. So it was a beautiful thing. So do you have any other shows or examples you wanted to share? I think that was all that I had.
That was like a perfect ending, because we talked about instances where it felt like Black sisterhood wasn't, portrayed in the best light, but I think Sister Sister was definitely a great example of that. So I want to leave the viewers on a high note today. So
okay,
yes,
sounds good. And you guys leave your comments. Definitely share, like. Your support is greatly appreciated in advance, so we thank you. And we'll see you on the next one.
Okay, thank you for watching.
Bye.